I'm in charge of release management of PHP 5.5 and 5.6. We are always two people doing the job, so basically I'm the guy who talks, and there are guys who make stuff. No, that's wrong, but we are always two people, and actually I'm not tagging the first alpha for 5.6. He's going to do it, and he should do it today, so I'm going to check that. So I work on PHP internal development, making PHP better, because I've been using PHP for a decade more now. And I prefer now turning into internals to help people make the language better in the future, and to add new features and things like that, performance as well, and everything like this. So PHP, why the elephant? So that's why the elephant. So sometimes people don't know why an elephant's been chosen, so that's why. Okay, so PHP when? We've always released PHP when we wanted to before, so starting with 5.4, I guess now you should know we have a clear release process. We try to respect the process. So basically it says we're going to release now a new version every year, okay? And as you can see on the date, so before it was just nothing scheduled. It was whenever we wanted to. So starting with 5.4, we have a process. Now we want to release a new release, a new major or minor. It depends on what we have to provide in the new version. We want to release one every year, and we want to maintain it for 3 years. Okay, so it's gonna help mainly people to schedule the release of their application, and mainly it's about framework designers now who knows when the new version of PHP is going to happen. So when they all can synchronize, and the distributions as well. We work with Fedora release manager packaging Fedora for Fedora, and we know also Debian ones. So we try to to make the schedules fit, but it's not always easy. But it's better than 5 years ago, when there was just nothing to glue all those release dates together. And sometimes we just released a PHP just about two weeks after a new Debian or a new Red Hat just got released, and we missed the gap. Okay, so now we try to synchronize. It's not always easy, but that's why we have now a new release process. We won't break compatibility on the revision before we did. Okay, so if you think about 5.3.4 and 5.3.5, for example, well, some things could break. Now we don't break anything between revisions. It's just bug fixes, patches, and that's all. Okay, so if you want new features, you get a new minor or new major, and if you want just bug fixes, so you get the revision versions. We are not so many contributors, so if you want to contribute, you can contribute in lots of ways to PHP. There is not always the code. For sure, you can contribute by reporting bugs, writing more tests, documentation, and also all the internals infrastructure behind PHP.NET, which is quite complex. This is a worldwide spread. We have lots of servers everywhere. And when we get attacked, because we get attacked like everybody, we have to regenerate all our SSH keys and have double auth servers and things like that. It takes time. Mainly nowadays it's Rasmus, the guy who does this job mainly. He's not the only guy doing this. So we also need help if you have, if you know how to manage servers and in infrastructure stuff, and if you want to help, so you can help also on this subject. So what's new in 5.5? 5.5 got released 1 year ago, nearly 1 year ago now. It was in June last year. We start seeing new servers providing 5.5, but it's a little bit, we always have a big gap between the versions we release and the version you run your scripts on, basically. So now what you can expect in 5.5. So we start seeing 5.5 in production now. It's a little bit, 1% perhaps, but so that's the menu. That's not all you can expect. That's the main features, okay? If you want to see all the features, to see all we added, you can read the documentation and the migration guide. But basically, we have a new password hashing API. I'm going to show you. We have generators now in PHP, okay? That's a quite nice feature. We have the finally keyword, finally. People always ask for the finally keyword in the try catch. Now we have it. And we integrated an opcode cache solution, which is not APC. I will step back on this in a few slides, okay? And we changed a little things about the syntax of PHP. We have added something which is called class name to scalar, which is a nice feature as well. And we broke little bit things, and we deprecated little things that will be removed probably in 5.6. So password hashing API is just something like you have PHP, which is a language which is used to easily program a website. You all know PHP. I won't present it to you. There is one thing that PHP lacked. It's about how to manage, how to handle passwords. Okay, so you can easily connect to a database. You can easily treat forms and do many things very easily. But when it comes to talk about how to manage a password from a user in a form, you're left alone. You don't really know how to do. PHP does not help you. PHP provides many functions, many things about crypting, sorting, and hashing, and things like that. And you're lost in this big world, and you don't know exactly what to do. What are the best practices about password? Now, in PHP 5.5, we added functions for the end user to manage password very easily, to generate a hash about a password and to check a provided password against this hash with just two functions which are quite easy to use. So the first one is password hash. It hashes a password with, I passed the constant password default as a second parameter, but you can pass many things. We're going to see that later. It generates something for you. You don't have to worry about, okay, a complex hash. And then when you have a password provided by a user, you just use the password verify function. You get the password of your user, you get your hash, and the function just does what it has to do and answers by true or false if the password is right or not. Okay, so you don't have to worry about J1, MD5, and encrypt salts and things like that anymore. But if you want to, you can. You can take hand on the password algorithms which are used by the password hash function by using a second parameter, a constant, which says what algorithm you want to use and the options for this algorithm. Mainly, we reused mcrypt behind the scene. So if you know about mcrypt, so you should be you should know about those parameters as well. So if you want to take hand on it, you can, but by default, PHP uses a default thing, which is just write for the big part of the code. So you just need one database field now to store this password, and in this hash, in this password hash, it encapsulates all it needs the salt which has been used, the cost, and all the parameters, plus the password, all is embedded into this big string, and PHP can parse it and can now know how it has to check about an encrypted password against the string. So it's very easy now to handle passwords on your website. If you want to use PHP for that, you don't have to think about too complex solutions. So this has been added to 5.5, and the guy who developed that backported the C API to PHP API for you to use it in 5.3 and in 5.4 if you want. You will have a performance costs because it's written as PHP libraries you have to include in your files, but it's compatible with what has been designed in 5.5, so perhaps it's nice. You can fetch this on GitHub, and even it's written on the PHP documentation now. You have a link to get the libraries and to start trying using it in 5.3 or in 5.4 if you're in 5.3, 5.4. So that now when you're going to migrate under 5.5, it's going to be very easy for you because it's already the same functions, but implemented in PHP for 5.4 and 5.3. We added as well generators. So if you don't know about generators, I'll let you document yourself about the concept behind generators. We basically have been inspired by Python to develop the generators for PHP. So if you know about Python generators, so you won't be lost in PHP. So it's a sort of concise iterator. It's another way to manipulate iterators without having the bad things about iterators, like you have to define 5 methods if you want to implement the interface, and it can be a very for very easy things using iterators is just like using a big hammer for just to smash a fly on the wall, you know. So it's not the right tool if you want to do easy things, but as well if you want to do some complex things, we'll see that generators can be really nice in some situations. So it introduces a new keyword, which is the yield keyword. So if you use this keyword actually in 5.3, 5.4, you will have a parse error in 5.5, so you have to know about this. So basically, we implemented generators as functions, okay, in PHP. So we reused what the engine provided to us, functions. And if in the function you make the yield keyword appear, your function will be turned into a generator. Okay, that's the trick. If you have a yield if the parser meets a yield keyword inside a function, it will compile it as a generator, and it will forbid the function to have a return statement. Okay, so this is not actually a function, even if it looks like a function. It's like closures in 5.3, you know, we implemented anonymous functions as internal. They are classes. That's exactly the same trick we used here. So you define a function, you get the result of this function which has no return keyword. This is a little bit tricky, okay? And then you start iterating over the result of this function, and every time the engine meets the yield keyword, it will provide values to the iterator, to the for each loop, basically, okay? So the yield can yield a value. It can yield as well a key and a value with syntax you know, with this strange arrow equal and this sign. Okay, and it will provide values for the for each functions. Internally, these generators are objects, and you cannot use. It's like exactly the same things as the closure. You cannot instantiate directly the generator class. Okay, you have to use a function to define generator, and if you've outdone the generator, you can see it's an object, and you can use on it the iterator interface, because the generator class implements iterator. Okay, so that's the trick we use. So that's a final class. You cannot redefine it. It implements iterator and traverses. So when you use generators with a function, you can use for each, and you can provide values with the yield keyword. You can embed them. You can use iterators, classical iterators, together with the yield keywords. So you can do many things about this. You have great examples in the documentation, because the 5.5 documentation is sure up to date on php.net. So if you want more situations and more use case, you can see on the documentation, for example. And you cannot show instantiate the generator class yourself. Generators can as well throw exceptions, okay, and they can send values. This is basically what's used by the yield keyword. Okay, when the yield keyword is met, generally it uses send to send values to for each loop behind the scene. Okay, but you can also use it if you want to use the generator object directly by yourself. By using it by yourself, you can next on it, you can send on it, you can current on it, you can throw on it. The generator can throw exceptions. This is a nice feature behind it. So basically, that's how it works. The finally keyword as well. We added the finally keyword. So I guess you know about this because you don't use only PHP. Perhaps you have used C# or Java or C++ or lots of languages like this. You always have a finally case under your try-catch. The finally case is always executed. If the control flow was in the try or was in any catch block, it will go in the finally, and it will mainly execute the code, which is mainly code designed to clean up resources which has been used in try or in catches blocks. Okay, so if it goes in finally, you can basically you use cleanup code like closing resources on files or MySQL database connections. So that's the flow it uses. It goes in the try, and in any catch block, it has been it went in any catch block. It goes in finally at the end of the try catch blocks. So before 5.5, you used to do things like this, and now in 5.5, you can do this this way. So you clean your resources in the finally statement, and you don't have to clean them in every control flow it could have used. So you don't care. You put your cleanup code in finally keyword. We have all the cases you can expect are explained on php.net. So basically what happens if you die in finally, if you go to in finally, if you have many try catches with finally blocks everywhere, what happens? It's all written on the documentation. So basically, yes, a die will not execute a finally. Okay, if you have a die somewhere in a catch, it will not go in the finally statement. If you have a go-to as well, it won't, but I guess you don't use this and you don't use it with try catches, catch blocks. So basically you have this has been asked for years to have the finally close. Now we have it in PHP, that's nice. Other changes you can expect, if you use INTL extension, I guess you do. We have added many features in this extension in 5.5. From what I remember, I think the code of INTL has doubled in lines in 5.5. Okay, so you had in 5.4 or in 5.3 something like 5 classes with 10 methods each. Now you can expect having 10 classes and 20 methods in each. So we have many new features in this extension. The curl as well has been updated to fit the new libcurl functionalities. We updated as well libgd. we added finally a function which is called image crop. Okay, because you all have to image create full color and image resize, resample, or I don't really remember how you had to do. It was very hard to just crop an image before. Now we have a new function which is called image crop, which does it for you, things like that. Array column, I let you, that's a nice function as well. I'll let you go on the documentation to know more about it. And you can change the process title of a CLI application under PHP now if you want to do it. And lots of bug fixes as well. We changed also things in the engine itself. Okay, so for each now supports lists. So now you finally can iterate over an array of arrays and directly be provided the final values in the deepest array, you know, with the lists structure. Before you could not use for each directly on the list results because of internal stuff which could not fit, and we managed to make them work together in 5.5. So now you can use the result of lists in the for each structure. This is nice if you have to use it. For each now accept keys as non-scalars. This is a little bit more technical. If you use the SPL iterator, there is one which is called multiple iterator, which gives you keys and values in different iterators. And for each did not support keys as being arrays or objects before. You could not make it happen if you don't use multiple iterator anywhere, or if you don't use tricks in iterators to make this happen. But this was possible to happen, and every time for each loop you had a warning, a key value cannot be array, warning, key value cannot be array, warning. Now you can finally use keys as non-scalars, like typically arrays. This is a nice feature. As well, now you can dereference constant expressions. So this is just about syntax. So now you can do stuff like this. So directly, if you have a constant expression like a string, you directly can fetch with the brackets. You directly can fetch characters individually. You don't have to create a temporary variable anymore. Okay, you can do this way. This is just for fun, I think, but it wasn't very hard to add, so we added it. In the compiler, we have now the missing function boulevard, which did not exist before. Mainly this can be used, this is to be used as a callback, okay, because you could not turn an array like this in true, false, false, true, false, 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 true, false if you wanted to. So now we can do this because we designed the bool-vol function which did not exist before. We had int, string, float, but no Boolean value. So now you have this function as well. You now can resolve the fully qualified name of a class by asking the class itself about this. This is a real use case I used some time ago. When you are in a basically when you alias a class using the use keyword, if you want to use this class as a scalar later, you have to rewrite its fully qualified name everywhere. This is used basically the use cases in PHP units test cases, but you have lots of other use cases where you would like to know what is the fully qualified name of a class because you have to pass it as a string somewhere to a function or to something which would like to introspect the class name. So now we added a new magic constant in classes. This magic constant is called class. Okay, it's virtual, so it exists in every class, but you cannot see it using reflection or things like this. Okay. Anyway, you cannot define a constant which is called class because this is a parse error. So that's why we chose the class keyword as being a constant, because we know it cannot hit your own constants because you cannot have a constant called class until you use runkit, but you don't use runkit. So that's all right. So now you can use this virtual constant to be given the fully qualified name of a class. We added also, this is for me the biggest feature, even if it's not really a feature. We finally provide an OP-cache solution into PHP. We did not choose APC because Zend opened the Zend Optimizer source code, which is it has been their own OP-cache solution for years. You could download it, but you could not see the source code. It was closed. Okay, it was Zend proprietary code. Okay, they decided to open it just before 5.5 release, and so they decided to give it to the community. That's it. And now we ship OP-cache in 5.5 as an extension. You have to enable it in your PHP INI if you want it, but it's provided like any other default extension like date or things like that. Now you have by default in PHP an OP-cache solution, because before you had PHP and you always, because you have to use an OP-cache, you always have had to add an extra package to your PHP to make it run on production. Usually users used APC. APC is not the only OP-cache solution in the world, but this is the most known. And you had to, okay, I want to set up a new server for production quickly now. I have to install PHP and I have to set up an extra package. Now PHP ships by default with an OP-cache solution. And you have the manual OP-cache. Work in progress, it should not be the case anymore, but I have to check that. So basically, you know about opcode cache. What's interesting in OP-cache, what I like, it includes, it's the only one Perhaps that's a lie, but I think it's the only one which integrates an optimizer. An optimizer is something which goes together with a compiler to make the opcode shorter, and so the engine, when it executes it executes it faster. So this is a cache, an opcode cache, plus an optimizer into one extension. So why not APC? Because APC is hard to maintain. It suffers from historical bad design, and it does not have many active contributors anymore. Okay, so basically when 5.4 was released, it changed many things internally in the engine, and we had to wait for years before APC was compatible, fully compatible with 5.4. So that's why 5.4 is not yet in production nowadays, because APC does not work very nice with 5.4. You can experience bad behaviors if you have a very high loaded servers with APC and 5.4. So now what we promise is that because we ship an OpCache solution together with PHP, now when we change the engine internally, we ship a new PHP like 5.6, for example, with an OpCache which has been patched to fully support the engine changes. So now you don't have compatibility issues anymore between versions, and OpCache is an extension which also works for 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4. Okay, so if you have old PHP like 5.2, you can still use OpCache. You can grab it, compile it against 5.2, and it will work. It's a little bit more performant than APC because it uses internally, it uses much more better stuff to lock memory and things like that, and to optimize the code. So you can expect very nice performance with OpCache. But APC provided a user cache. You should know, APC underscore functions. OpCache does not. Okay, so what has been done is that APC has been reworked, has been forked as APCU, and all the OpCache code has been trashed just to keep the user cache, the APC fetch, APC thing like these functions, and now it's in APCU, so you can use OpCache 5.5, OpCache, and APCU to have the APC fetch and things like that functions, and it all works very nicely. So OpCache is PHP license, is maintained by volunteers and by Zen guys as well, and is maintained in the same way as PHP, and it is planned, I don't know when, to merge it fully into PHP so that it's not an extension anymore, it will be merged into the core. But I don't know if we can do this for 5.6, I don't think so, but anyway. So that's the... What did we break in 5.5 against 5.4? Finally we deprecated MySQL extension. Okay, so if you use MySQL underscore function, just pretty old API, now it will throw warnings. Well, he deprecated errors, okay, and we should remove it completely from the 5.6 release. Okay, so you should use MySQLi or PDO. You should not use the /e modifier for preg because it's been deprecated. It was used to execute what parentheses, capturing parentheses and execute this as PHP code. This was dangerous for security, so we deprecated this and we will remove it. We dropped support for all Windows. No more logo functions. Should you know about them? I don't think you know about PHP logo, GUI functions like this. We got rid of them because nobody used them, and it's we had to encapsulate all those logos as base 64 strings. So we had a big release, big sources. So we got rid of them. Minor changes in pack and pack if you use them. Be careful. And no more curl wrappers if you use this. This was an experimental feature anyway, and we won't develop it anymore. So we removed it from the code. About performance, well, the biggest gap was 5.3 to 5.4. Okay, 5.4 to 5.5 is tiny. Okay, so you should not expect God coming again, but from 5.3 to 5.4 you had a very nice performance feature. Should it be about CPU or memory consumption? This is an example. PHP unit run test with lots of external services, so take care of the time. Okay, but mainly in 5.3, 5.4 you have a big gap. 5.5 we did not have as many optimization. You have a memory usage which is a little bit more. This is just a test parasites. Okay, it's the same memory usage anyway. So if you use the scripts we use to bench the engine, okay, this is slow letters, so sorry for the guys behind. You can find anywhere. This is make an array access as read, make an array access as write, make a foo : a class fetching, a static property fetching, because behind we have lots of C code which is run in the engine. And so we try this under 5.3. We have a total of about 20 seconds, and in 5.4 it's about twice less. So this is a very, very nice performance improvement in 5.4. And in 5.5 you should expect, you see, results which are barely the same. Okay, so but in 5.5 we added lots of new things, keeping the performance the same, which itself is a challenge. Okay, so that's why. So that's about the engine performance in 5.5. So time passes. I guess this is the last slide. I just added it this morning just to talk about 5.6 because this is the last slide. We are going to tag the first alpha now, and you should expect 5.6 in June this year. I recall that now we have new versions of PHP every year actually. Okay, so it's called 5.6 because we will try not to break too many applications with it. We won't break the compatibility. So this is not a 6.0, which could be a rewrite of PHP and which could break your applications. This won't be the case, so that's why it's still a 5 point something, 5 point latest +1, so that's 5.6. And we added actually merged, which is in alpha, so this could have bugs. Internal overloading for internal classes. We have a new debugger, if you know about it, PHP DBG. You can Google it if you want to. We can now use the use keyword with functions to alias functions in namespaces. And we have variadic functions and argument unpacking, which are functions with 3 dots at the end, meaning you can pass any arguments you want, and I will unpack them the way I want, and you can now name parameters. Probably we will merge this as well. So you don't have positional parameters anymore, but if you have, let's say, a function which takes lots of parameters, and the first which hits command cookie with 7 parameters, now you can, you will in PHP 5.6 probably be able to pass the last parameters as the first one, and you will name it. Should it be something like HTTP only, I think, isn't it? So HTTP only arrow, the value and the argument will be the first one in the list, but it's the last one in the declaration, things like this. We have many things to come in 5.6 anyway, so that was the extra slide, just for people to know what to expect in the next releases of PHP.